Boozed contains adult themes and language. Listener beware. Hiya, and welcome to another episode of Boozed, where we get supernatural and shit-faced. Oh yeah, we have a lovely, lovely special guest with us today, Miss Nicole Neely. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I am inebriated, as was requested by
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
That
Thank
helps.
you
Yeah, absolutely.
for inebriating myself.
Exactly. So what's this drink you've made?
So, I am a frequenter of Ida Claire in Addison, and they have created a drink called the Star-Crossed Lover, which is not quite this, but is a healthier version of this because they add like a simple syrup to it, and I'm on keto, so I'm trying to not add sugar to my drinks.
Okay.
I know that makes no sense.
No, that's fine. So So you have bourbon in there. We got you some nice bourbon.
Yes, Camille brought the most wonderful bourbon, and it is very delicious.
I think it's Woodhouse.
It is exactly that.
Wood Reserve.
Bourbon.
Wood Reserve.
Yes.
So they can
It's
sponsor
very
us at
good.
any time. Thank you, Wood
Hello,
Reserve.
Wood Reserve.
Please sponsor our show.
Please sponsor the show. It's a very delicious bourbon. It tastes very wonderful, and I added some orange into it. The fruit, not the flavor.
Yeah, it's like a whole slice of orange in there.
A literal whole slice of orange into it. And also, so I did I did 3 shots of bourbon.
Okay.
Because I just kept pouring until I felt it was right, which it typically equates about 3 shots. And then a slice of orange, and then a whole lot of rosé.
Hey, rosé all day.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. I think at Ida Claire it's like a bunch of bourbon, a slice of orange, some simple syrup, which is what I cut out, which is why it's keto to me.
Gotcha.
I know it's not really keto. I know
But
that
close
some
enough.
people
It's
really
fine.
do keto and then they lose a lot of weight, and then it's a really great time for them. But I cut the simple syrup today because I am health conscious.
Very
So
nice.
I did
Good job.
bourbon, orange slice, rosé.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
It's very delicious. Thank you so much for this.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. Absolutely. I was surprised when I asked you what your drink of choice was. I did not expect to have another brown liquor lady like
yes.
myself. You were like bourbon. I was like, hello, whiskey over here. Yes, ma'am. All about it. So we both have our brown. I'm doing my Dr. Pepper and TX whiskey.
Shall
Little
we
clink,
cheers each
little
other in the
cheers.
microphone? Will it work though?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll try to get a little clink here. That was good.
Yes. I spilled some on myself. You can see it. I hope you all imagine it. I'm wearing a teal blue sweater
It's a cute
with
sweater.
a stain now.
Got your little peep sleeves.
Yeah, it's what I wear to work when I want to feel hip.
Nice.
Yeah.
I get too cold in my office to wear anything. Like, I'm usually at my desk
I
with
should wipe my chin off.
2 sweaters. Do you need a napkin? Should I get you
No,
okay?
man, I have a sweater
That's what
on.
shirts are for.
Yeah, that's what shirts are.
To wipe up my spilled drinks.
To wipe up my bourbon that I spill on my chin on a
It's for
Friday
you're saving
night.
it for later.
Yeah.
So next week at work when you're wearing that sweater,
just lick it
like
and
don't
it's
wash
done.
it and just like suck it out later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we get along.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. It's
That's
better
how-
than the wine bra.
Young theater children. That's how full-time jobs work. You just spill alcohol on your clothes and then you suck it out.
Suck it out. I like that you included me in that young theater children description. I am neither young nor a children.
I think it's important to educate the young theater children
thank
on
you.
the bourbon.
On the bourbon.
Shot sweaters.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Well, I had to graduate from screwdrivers, so I feel like I've
Whoa.
upgraded quite a bit
Yeah,
in
that's
my
a lot.
years. So
Wow.
All right. Well,
one time on a next drunk podcast, not a boozed podcast, but if there is ever a drunk podcast, I should tell you about. I feel like there should be a podcast that educates the young
on just how to drink.
Excuse me. Wow. I hope that no burps appear on this podcast from me.
It's all burps.
Sorry. I hope that, we should educate the young theater children on how to do this so that they don't hurt themselves.
Drinking or theater?
Both. I feel like they go hand in hand, really.
No, it's interesting. So as I've kind of aged through theater, I find myself more and more being one of the oldest people in the room.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, newer to me. And I had actually taken a break for theater for a while. And I felt like when I came back, I recognized no one in auditions.
Oh, my gosh. Have you realized that, most of them are, 21 to, 23?
No, they're babies.
They're babies. And
babies.
I'm so impressed by them. And I'm like, what mindset was I when was I in at 21 / why?
But there's some young people who I've gone to auditions with, and I'm sitting here and I was like, who taught you how to dress for an audition? I've seen young women I'm serious though. I've seen young women come out to auditions in crop tops and holy jeans, and dudes with holes in their jeans and a baseball t-shirt. And
friends,
I get it, but class it up a little bit.
I have reached a point where I have not cared, and that is when I started wearing baseball crop tops. That's not the correct thing to do.
I always try to I don't go overboard. I don't try to necessarily dress like the character, but I don't
dress. It's a job interview.
Yeah, I wear nice dark jeans or slacks and a nice top that compliments me. So I don't understand.
They're going to costume you.
Right.
You don't have to costume yourself. I think that's one of the things that I would like to present to the entire theater world is you don't have to costume yourself in the audition. It turns out
sometimes in the production
costumers.
You do. Yeah. Depending on what the theater budget is, sometimes you do have to costume yourself.
That's
God
true.
bless them.
God bless them. But in auditions, I think it's a general encouragement to dress as a job and
just look nice.
Just look nice. Look like you're a human, a professional that's going to show up on time, do your job.
Yes,
and they will costume you. And if they don't costume you,
they'll tell you what to buy or bring from your closet.
Exactly. And they will still pay you, I hope. Look at your contract. #lookatyourcontract.com.
Always.
Yep.
Always. Get paid for your art.com.
Get paid for your art.com. Oh, man.
No, that's a whole other episode.
Woof.
That's a lot of episodes.
That's a lot of episodes.
Paying in local theater and arts.
It is.
Yeah. On that note, please subscribe to my Patreon so that I can pay my guest for coming on my show.
Please do. I think so. Here's the thing. I am a
tell me about your business.
I keep forgetting how old I am. I am 26 to 27 year old. A 26 to 27 year old. And I hope that as you continue in your world and continue in your journey, that you contribute to art. And especially if you're going to stay in a place like Dallas or anywhere really, in New York, in Chicago, you're going to have to work a job that you did not think you were going to have to work at. And it is not going to be art-based, but they will pay you to live. And
very important.
Yes, and they will appreciate art, but they will not be able to pay you for your art. And so you will do work that you do not think that you needed to work. Anyway, so you will have a few extra dollars because you have to live in a rent
money.
Controlled apartment.
I'm all about
house.
going back to the barter system where I give you a chicken and you give me a car. If we could work that out again, that'd be great.
Here's the thing. Even if you don't get a chicken or a car, you're getting to make art. And sometimes in the world, to live to a point that you are able to sustain bathing yourself and sleeping, you will have to do like, you will have to do administrative work and things that you were like, I don't want to do. Yeah. So you'll do that.
Been there.
Yeah. But you will eventually, in that profession, realize, wow, I don't have a lot of art in my life, and you will seek art. And then there will be art like Camille is making with this podcast, and with art in theaters, with new works. And you will realize, wow, I need this art in my life because it makes me feel happy, and it makes me feel known, and it makes me feel heard and loved. And you will love that art, and you will commit to that art, and you will be like, wow, if I don't have this art, I will actually plummet into a solid nothing that is administrative. So,
not speaking from experience.
No, of course not.
No,
of course
no,
not.
no,
Of course
no,
not. That
no.
was scripted.
Right. But you, speaking of art, you are an artist in many ways. So you have an art business where you actually draw things.
I do. So I have a BFA in acting directing from 2014. It is 2019. And I in this timeline also work at administrative work, and also have a graphic design business called Messy Mouse Design. If you are ever interested in then strange cartoon art that you are necessitating. But I really encourage you to seek out freelance art that is becoming art, that you enjoy and that you support. Because sometimes $5 a month can mean the world to a new podcast or a new Instagram or a new design business. And you will eventually become a very integral part of that art.
Yeah, and we're going to get your Patreon.
Exactly. Patreon. Oh my God. Patreon is one of the most incredible websites I have ever seen. I hope that you invest in Patreon, especially Camille's Boozed podcast. Camille is such a supporter of theater / all the things. Please support her. Holy goodness.
Well, thank you. My involvement in theater is purely selfish. So it's really all about me and me wanting to be at.
But truly, theater involvement is not as selfish, because you are involving like hours of your time in the evening to create such wonderful art. And
likewise.
At not the amount of pay that you should be paid, because we are in Dallas and Fort Worth. And we do the best we can. Hi guys.
And theaters are out there doing the best they can. Yeah, we'll recognize those
in all the states. That's just how art works.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have your Messy Mouse Designs.
Yes.
You're also a playwright.
I'm also a playwright. Please help promote my plays.
What are your plays' names?
I have a play called
Titles.
Titles. I have a play called Marilyn Pursued by a Bear, which is a Shakespeare.
The line in Shakespeare, like so and so exits
pursued by a bear. Yeah. So Marilyn Pursued by a Bear is a companion piece to Winter's Tale. Oh, okay. And it's Marilyn Monroe. I became very attached to Marilyn Monroe in the last couple of years through writing this play. There's a theater in the United States. I am inebriated. But there is a theater in the United States that, for all playwrights out there listening, there is a contest they do. It's like the Shakespeare New Contemporaries, and they offer $25,000. Yeah, excuse me. If they choose to like produce your play, do your play, please look up Shakespeare's New Contemporaries, and you will find your like new. Oh well. They will. You will find their new playwrights program that they do, and it's very cool.
Awesome.
And it will like encourage you to write new plays and pick up.
Need some sugar?
Do no plays.
So what are you writing something new now? Because you've written like 3 or 4 so far that you've had produced recently.
Yes. So I've written a play called Marilyn Pursued by a Bear, and then there's a play called 3 Seconds. That is not essentially created for a Shakespeare play, but it's written by It's written inspired by like grief that I have endured in the last couple of years. And so, as playwriting does, you write what you know, and it leads you to either sad or comedic or dramatic or other such interesting places that you go to.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, cool. So I'll give you a chance to say it at the end as well, but if you want to say it while you're still mostly functional, do you have a social media for your Messy Mouse?
So Messy Mouse is at messymousedesign. It's on Instagram. It's just at Messy Mouse Design. And if you want to follow my playwriting stuff, you can follow me at Nicole Neely on Facebook. You can find me. I currently have red hair and
it's gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. And a nervous grin. You can find me with a blue polka dot shirt. You can also find me on Instagram at 00. Well, not 0. It's an O. It's not a number. It's at OO Neely, which is Neely. At OONEELY on Instagram, and that's usually where I keep up with my playwriting stuff because Facebook is kind of depressing.
Well, you have a story to tell us, I believe, don't you?
I do. Hello. Ghost enthusiasts.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have a BFA in acting and directing, and in my sophomore year of college, I went to London.
Nice.
And, I mean, quite frankly, by like peer pressure, I went to London, but it was for the better.
It's the worst peer pressure ever. The peer pressure that makes you travel to foreign lands is the worst.
The worst. But honestly,
I should have smoked crack instead. Jeez.
Yeah.
That one group of kids was right. I should have gotten high.
I mean, for real, guys, if you're like going to a university and they offer to like send you overseas at a discount, go do it. Because you're going to pay money otherwise, and you should go overseas. If I could offer anyone any advice, it would be to go overseas and experience theater in like a London or a France.
Nice.
So I went to London my sophomore year of college for my BFA program, and I went to the Drury Lane Theatre.
Nice.
And we went through a big long 2-hour-long tour through the Drury Lane Theatre. The Drury Lane Theatre is so incredible. It's one of the oldest theatres in London. The Drury Lane Theatre was the Theatre Royal. It was built in 1663. And no one knows what the fuck it was like in 1663.
There's no way to know. No one wrote down
literally
things.
No way to know. It was not the Globe. It was not anything that Shakespeare would have spoken about. It was not anything anyone would have spoken about.
So no one knew about this theater.
Literally,
not in general. 1663, no one knew what the fuck was going on.
Literally,
no one wrote down
knew.
shit.
Anything you read is a goddamn shit show.
No one actually knew what the fuck was going on.
It was 1663.
No one kept records.
God help us, it was 1663. So we knew a little bit. We knew a little bit about what Shakespeare's Globe Theatre had to go through when Shakespeare did his thing and did the thing that he did. But 1663 was a time that no one knew what the fuck was going on. And so the first Drury Lane Theatre was built in 1663, and no one knew. I did a lot of history research on my own. No one knows what the fuck happened at that point. So sorry.
You got to page 100 on Google and there was still nothing.
If you have a professor that knows more, they lied to you. There's not a whole lot that went on in 1663 that they recorded.
Everyone was busy dying of the plague and trying to survive the winter.
I literally found a Britannica article that said no one knew what the fuck went on in 1663. Nice. So the Drury Lane Theatre was...
is it just specifically that year, 1663?
Yeah,
or is it the years before and after?
No. It was 1663.
Something was going down in 1663.
So the beginning of the end was in 1663. Gotcha. No one knows what the fuck happened. Okay. And no one cared enough, quite frankly.
It was a boring year.
It was a boring year. I'm sure it was a lot of like racy theater that went on that no one recorded. It was not Shakespeare. It was like probably someone tap dancing / making jokes that were applicable to 1663.
It's like a 1663 vaudeville show.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
No one can relate to that. It was 1663. It is now 2019. So, you know what? If you are a theater nerd of any MFA, DFA, Doctors of Fine Arts, is that a thing that happens? I don't even know. I'm inebriated as fuck. I hope that you would actually support me in this. No one knows what the fuck happened in 1663.
That's your only goal in life, is to figure out what happened in 1663.
Yeah, I searched a lot on the internet. I feel like the internet would have had the answers.
Well, maybe you need to go to a library in London. Maybe they might have more records.
Maybe so. I should have
some
gone...
more archives.
But anyway, so the Drury Lane Theatre was built in 1663.
Okay. We do know that happened.
We do know that happened. It was the Theatre Royale, if that's more like, oh, that rings a bell to you. It's the Drury Lane Theatre.
You might be a ghost if that rings a bell.
You might be a ghost. If any ghosts are listening to this
Can
podcast.
you write in and let us know what happened in 1663?
Yeah. But so, the Theatre Royale / the Drury Lane Theatre was created in 1663. I'm sure it housed a lot of vaudeville performers. That was the like fad at that point, was like vaudeville theater. It was rebuilt. It was replaced in 1674. Alterations around that time made it larger. It made it so that more people could come, more people could pay, and it made it much prettier. So around 1674 to 1775, I know that's a huge span of time.
That is quite a few years there.
But that's a huge span of time to make it so pretty. So
Gotcha.
there were...
it was a slow remodel.
It was a slow remodel. If you can think of so many like history books, theater history books that like lead you to believe so many like beautiful paintings were made in these theaters, so many beautiful murals were painted. If you can think of the in Paris, the theater that was, oh gosh, the opera, I'm inebriated. The opera that the Phantom of the Opera was like written upon.
I have no idea. I've never seen that show.
Oh God, I'm too drunk to remember. That theater, around that time, a lot of the theaters in London were remodeled to imitate that theater.
Gotcha.
And so there were paintings, there were beautiful models recreated. It was a place for royalty to come and be seen.
Okay.
And they were seated in a box where they couldn't really see the show, but they were seen.
They were seen, yeah.
Yeah. The main purpose of like royalty in the 1600s, 1700s, honestly the 1800s, was to be seen at these places, because that meant that you were educated. It was meant you were royalty. Even if you didn't know the entire context of the show, it just meant you were there.
It was status.
It was status, and that's important. In 2000 in 2012, when did I graduate high school? In 2011, 2012, that was whenever I was at the Drury Lane Theatre, and this is when I learned a bunch of theater history. So, let's go back. In 1663, Drury Lane was built. In 1674, it was remodeled. There were alterations throughout 1775 that made it larger, made it prettier. And that's around the time that a lot of the like Paris opera houses were made to create. They were created to like become like marbly and beautiful. And they were where royalty was to be seen. This was around the time that theater was royalty. So, 1674 to around 1794 was around the time where royalty was theater. And so, I imagine this was around the time that, like, a lot of Shakespeare's productions were, like, renowned. And Moliere's productions in France were renowned. Gosh, I love theater history. I would love to learn more. So it was rebuilt again in 1791. It was the Amazing Fireproof Theatre in London. The Amazing Fireproof Theatre in 1791. It burnt down
the next year.
It burnt down.
Much like the Titanic.
Yes.
That was not
Isn't
true.
it so interesting
That's
how
horrible.
problems are solved by things that do not solve the problem?
I just feel like you should never say anything is fireproof and or unsinkable, because clearly you're going to be proven wrong.
Ooh.
Real hard.
And what a wonderful. Hi guys. Sometimes consonants do not support the things you're saying.
They're hard. Consonants.
Keep going.
They're rough.
Keep going.
They're rough.
Keep creating. I'm so sorry for that burp. There were so many alterations from 1663 to 1809. And it was rebuilt and expanded again in 1812. And here we are, where my ghost story lies, where this podcast truly is interested in.
We made it.
This beautiful
All
ghost
the way
story.
From 1663 till
Guys, this is a ghost story that I
Right.
have held in my heart for so goddamn long.
Ooh.
All right.
Everybody take a deep breath. Everybody breathe. We're ready.
Here we are.
My
So this
body's
is
ready.
a story about the man in gray. So, in 2012, I went to London as a study abroad student, and we had an assignment to write a report about something. And mine was about ghost stories in London theater. And mine was about ghost stories in at any point where I was to where I was. So I went to the Drury Lane Theatre, and one of the tours led me to a story about the man in gray. Mm-hmm. And the man in gray is the most profound ghost story for the Drury Lane Theatre.
All right.
The Drury Lane Theatre is one of the most haunted theatres in London. It has around 400 ghost stories. And one of the most important is the man in gray. And
So 400 ghosts or 400 ghost stories?
400 ghost stories.
Okay.
And it is so surprising to me how few I've heard of the man in gray, yet it is the most prominent ghost story of the Drury Lane Theatre. When I went to the Drury Lane Theatre in London, this was the first ghost story they told because it's the most important. He's one of the ghosts that stay pretty constant, and so he appears in the fourth row of the upper circle between 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. He's a very constant ghost. He stays that way throughout time. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. he is the ghost.
Wait, so is he like just sitting there the whole time?
He's
just from
chilling.
10 to 6? That's like his job. He just shows up, sits.
Yeah. But the thing is,
I feel like he's not even seeing a show unless it's like
He's-
matinee. Unless it's like a Sunday matinee, because he's like, most shows don't start till 7 or 8. There's certainly not a show at 10.
that's fair. I'm the same.
So he's not there for the theater.
Feel
clearly.
you, men in gray. But he typically appears. He's a very good omen to shows, and so he only appears at shows that will last a very long time at the Drury Lane Theatre. He typically appears between 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. He generally appears in dress rehearsals.
Okay.
In the daytime, I imagine he's there, but people don't notice him because tech rehearsals are what they are.
Right. Horrible existences.
Any theater people know
Hell
tech
week
rehearsals
for a
are,
reason.
Hell for a reason.
Yeah.
But he, as a description, he is a limping apparatus of a young man. He wears a gray overcoat and a gray tricorn hat. And he appears in the fourth row of the upper class section. It's like, if you imagine the mezzanine today, he's in the fourth row of the mezzanine.
Okay.
So he's not in the orchestra, but he's in the second row of the Drury Lane Theatre. He's in the fourth row. God help
season
you.
Ticket holder.
Yeah, God help you, season ticket holder. If he's in the fourth row. I don't imagine he'll bother you too much.
Excuse me, so you're in my seat.
He is a ghost, and he does appear he generally appears in the dress rehearsals. He doesn't appear during audience performances. But he's a very good omen. If he sits down and watches your show, then it's claimed to be more of a hit. He's a very good omen for shows.
So if he doesn't storm out before the end of the first act, you have a hit on your hands. So he's like the ghost critic of like, this is shit, I'm leaving.
He's a very honest ghost. So the man in gray appeared in the dress rehearsal of Oklahoma at the Drury Lane Theatre. Oh, and they were like, wow, you're a ghost. And it was a very good omen. They ran for years and years and years at the Drury Lane Theatre. And the same for My Fair Lady. The thing about the man in gray is many times, like, audience members, managing directors, house people, audience members, tour guides have seen him just like cross in the upper circle of the London Theatre, and he doesn't stop. He just walks across the audience to the wall, and then it is described that he like melts into the wall.
So who is he?
So
like, who's this man? Why?
The man in gray is described as a man who is a very young man. He wears a very young kind of overcoat and a gray like tricorn hat, and he crosses the upper circle in the fourth row exactly. He's a very sicklier ghost, I guess is the word. He doesn't change patterns. He's a very
so he's like stuck on a loop,
ghost.
Basically.
Yeah, he doesn't change.
So does anyone know who he actually was?
So there are speculations. In 1870, there was a huge remodel of the Drury Lane Theatre, and they found this skeleton. So there's a wall that they were trying to expand upon because like audiences like were requesting more seats and they needed to like sell more tickets. So they were trying to expand the like seatage.
Right.
And they found in this wall that they were trying to expand, and they found a skeleton within the wall that the man in gray for so many years had disappeared into. They found a skeleton with a knife inside of his chest. Yeah. So
so like when he's disappearing into the wall, he's going back to his body.
He's going back into his body. So the apparition had disappeared into a wall for so long, and in the 1870s, when they like broke down the wall, they found a skeleton with a gray overcoat and a gray tricorn hat.
Shut up.
Bricked inside of a wall.
No.
Yeah.
Do they have it like on display at the theater? That'd be so cool.
That would
on
be
display
so
somewhere?
cool. They speculated that at that time, like years and years in the 1600s, that there was a man that like fell in love with a woman that was a part of the theater company, and there was a man that like challenged him to a duel, and the guy lost, and so he was like stabbed and bricked as
Why
a
would they
grave.
break him into the theater though?
Man, it's so
that seems a bit weird.
It is weird because between like the 1600s and the 1870 time when they discovered the skeleton with a knife inside of his chest, there was a fire that like burned down the theater, but it did not burn down the original
that wall, like that structure.
Wall.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So in 1870, they discovered this wall with a skeleton inside it with a knife buried inside of him with a tricorn hat very close by. And there had been a ghost for years and years that had.
So did he like disappear once they?
So
but he's still there, right?
He's still there.
Okay.
He's known to, ever since before this was even discovered, he would. Judi Dench has actually claimed to be a person that has seen him.
Oh, the dame herself.
The dame herself has seen him. In 1939, the entire cast of The Dancing Years saw him. And so,
What?
I know, it's a little bit crazy timeline-wise, because in the 1800s, they found the skeleton of him.
Right.
And I imagine they were a little bit embarrassed. Or just like, oh, there's been a skeleton with a knife inside of him inside of our walls. There's been a murder inside of our walls for like years and years. With the amount of like Catholic and religious situation that has happened for so many years, I imagine they were a little bit afraid to reveal that fact about themselves. But they did find a skeleton within their theater at the Drury Lane Theatre in the 1870s. And so past the 1900s, they started to realize that, of course, this was a ghost that would traverse across the entire upper class section into this wall where the skeleton was found. And they started to recognize him as this exact skeleton because it makes the most sense. Yeah, of course.
I mean, he looks like the skeleton.
He looks like the skeleton and is referencing to the skeleton that he was bricked inside of. It's kind of, nowadays, it's kind of referenced as maybe it was like a romantic interest that turned bad in the far times ago, and a guy got jealous and like bricked him in after he stabbed him because he was afraid.
Are there any other theories? Like maybe he was like a shit actor who was fighting with the managing director of the theater, and he was stabbed, and the person was like, oh, I'm building this theater, I can't have this on my record.
That would be a very interesting theory. I have not heard that theory yet. And of course, from like 1663, we can only have so many theories.
No one knows what happened in 1663.
No one knows exactly what happened.
And clearly it happened when it was built.
Exactly.
So but
what we do know as a fact is that there was a skeleton.
Maybe that's why nothing was written down from 1663. Like this was the big scandal in the town.
Like literally no one knows
like they burned all the records
happened.
And then buried this guy in the walls.
Exactly. So
to cover up the secrets.
Exactly. So 1600s, no one knows what happened.
What if he's like a secret heir to the throne?
It's possible. It's very possible.
So when was the last time he was seen? Like, he's still seen.
He's still seen. He's mainly seen when a hit is going to happen. And so My Fair Lady was the last time he was seen, like, sitting.
Okay.
In a dress rehearsal.
When was that? Like, My Fair Lady's an old show. So
My Fair Lady's a very old show. I don't know.
Okay.
But Oklahoma, My Fair Lady, and then I don't know that he's ever been seen in a show at that point for like much longer.
Oh, okay. So he kind of just disappears.
Yeah, he just kind of disappears. So Joseph Grimaldi was a ghost at the Drury Lane Theatre. He lived from 1778 to 1837-ish. He had a long, distinctive career. He was one of the main, like, founding fathers of the pantomime theater, which is, like, so hugely famous in London, I guess, now. He played a woman in many, like, pantomime productions in his time. And then he became so exhausted that he died.
Okay.
I know. It's kind of like...
Being a woman is exhausting.
Yeah, it is.
It will drive you to death.
It will drive you to death. Imagine being a man pretending to be a woman for so long.
I can't. Dear God.
It's so
Men
dreadful.
have it so hard.
So hard.
Already.
So he died from exhaustion. And he... clowns. He was a bit of a clown, like a pantomime clown. He was still known as a Joey in his honor, like in recent times.
A Joey Tribbiani? What's a Joey?
I guess in like clown terms, he was a bit of a Joey.
Oh, okay. So I have to look up the clown stuff. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I have a few clown friends, so they'll probably have to school me on that.
Yeah. So he was a bit of a clown. That's where Joseph Grimaldi came from, the Joeys.
Ah, okay.
And he was known as a ghost because he would like kick people on stage. What? I know, it's the strangest thing in the world.
Was he known to kick people on stage before or after he died?
Before. After. He was known to like kick people like after. He'd be like, you're too much. And
you're
would,
overacting.
He would kick people on stage.
Oh, that's rude.
So weird. I know. And so, that's what he's known for as his ghost at the Drury Lane Theatre.
Okay.
And then there was a ghost named Dan Leno, and he was another pantomime artist. He would pretend to be a woman on stage. And he eventually got to a point that he would like poop himself a lot. Oh. Yeah, like his disease was so terrible that he would poop himself.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like on purpose, like for some reason that was part of his act. So it was like pooping himself, but he was sick, so that's sad.
He was just sick.
Okay, and this is so when you say they were pantomiming as women, this was before women were allowed on stage technically, so that's why they were doing this.
They were pretending.
Gotcha.
And not Jay Leno. Dan Leno would be one on stage, and he went mad in 1904.
Well, I think you would go mad if you're shitting yourself.
You would
on stage.
imagine, yeah.
I appreciate his dedication to excellence.
I know,
like,
man.
I'm gonna shit myself on stage, but the show must go on.
So I'm impossible. Is essentially what he would say. And he was incontinent around 1904.
Oh, baby.
I know.
Poor baby.
So he would smell very like terribly, as you can imagine. And he would...
Back in the day when people did not smell great to begin with.
Exactly. And he would douse himself in lavender perfume.
Oh.
And so even now, one of the main parts of the Drury Lane Theatre tour, like the ghost tour, is this portion of the theater where he would remain. Mm-hmm. And you will smell elements of like lavender in that part. Yeah. Mainly lavender.
Mainly lavender.
You'll smell lavender.
Oh, wow.
As a part of himself. And you'll be like, oh, yeah. And the ghost tour will be like, oh, yeah, that's Mr. Leno. All clowns and like pantomimes of women in the early 1800s. Which is interesting.
That's
the Drury Lane.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, like, I love acting. I consider myself a fairly dedicated actor to some degree. But if it gets to the point where I'm shitting myself on stage, I think I just need to let it go. Just let it go.
Like,
maybe
at that point,
just strictly podcasting, strictly
you might be done.
Vlogging, maybe.
Exactly.
Things that don't require me to be around other people shitting myself.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's really the amount of the Drury Lane that I was taught whenever I went to Drury Lane Theatre. The time that I went was whenever Shrek was in, and they didn't have many stories about Shrek, and so I was like, I must not be lasting.
Wait, huh?
So whenever I went to tour the Drury Lane Theatre, they were like, Shrek is here. But there weren't any like crazy stories about Shrek being there. And
okay, so like the play Shrek?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I was like, wait, I didn't get it.
It's exactly true.
I got it. Yep. I'm caught up. I'm good.
It's true. Yeah. So, the Drury Lane Theatre.
Very nice.
A story of many ghosts.
Many ghosts. Did you see anything while you were there?
I didn't, which is so disappointing.
It is. I was telling someone else, like, I don't think I've not had an experience that I've ever been able to recognize as being a supernatural experience. I have had dreams where, like, parts of the dream will come true or, like, so, like, slightly prophetic.
Yeah.
but I haven't had any kind of like other paranormal supernatural interaction that I know of. So, but I've not been to a haunted place that I know of.
Right.
Well, no, actually, that's wrong. That's a complete bullshit lie. I have been to a haunted place, but nothing happened while I was there, I should say. So that's upsetting.
That's upsetting.
Boo. All right. Well, thank you for all of the history and the intrigue. I'm still like, I need a time machine so I can go back to 1663 and figure out what the fuck happened.
I know, man.
In that entire year.
Me too.
Thank you for listening to Boozed. Our theme was composed by Vincent Parish. Sound production is done by Sydnee Johnson. You can find us on social media at Boozed Pod. That's BOOSED Pod. If you would like to support the show, please go to patreon.com/boozedpod to make a contribution. Thank you for listening. And don't forget, get boozed.